Welcome. I'm Doug from HD Ellsworth. The D in HD, if you don't get it, you're definitely not my wife, and this is Dying to Retire. Join me on a candid journey from my government job to the freedom of retirement. As one of the last of the baby boomers, I am hanging up my federal badge and diving into what comes next. I will talk about what led to my decision, on why it was time for me to retire, and what I did right, and what mistakes I have made. I am not an HR expert, nor am I a financial advisor, so I have made a few mistakes. When I can, I'll slice through the noise of today's headlines with a sharp, no-holds-barred commentary delivered with the kind of honesty only retirement can afford. This podcast is a safe space for non-woke people, and while I try to keep everything somewhat above board, and if it has to be said bluntly, it will be. Vegas rules apply here, so let's get started. Retirement, the elusive dream many of us all chase, and yet the path is often shrouded in confusion and uncertainty. Welcome, I'm Douglas of HD Ellsworth. I'm the D, of course, and if you don't get it, you're not my wife. And this is Dying to Retire. Chalk today's episode up to things learned or solidified while going through the retirement process at my workplace. As always, this podcast is a safe space for non-woke people and individuals. And while I try to keep it somewhat above board, if shit has to be said bluntly, it is what it is, and Vegas rules do apply. Now, have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions at work? Like you're physically present, but mentally checked out? Well, I don't know about you, but I have. And in some days, that is where I feel I'm at in my career at this time. Well, if you don't know already, this is what's known as quiet quitting. And for those nearing retirement, it might be the perfect way to coast into those retirement years. So what is quiet quitting? As I understand it, quiet quitting is the phenomenon primarily associated with millennials and Gen Zers, where individuals, employees, do the bare minimum required to keep their jobs, at least to take them to the point in their careers where they're eligible for early retirement or they find another job. But for our case, because this is dying to retirement, I'm talking about it getting ready for retirement. So at the long story short, they're there, but part of them or most of them are mentally checked out. Now, individuals are not actively slacking off or disengaging completely from their work. They're just not going above and beyond like they used to. For those in the federal government, it's the GS-14 that only does GS-14 work and not GS-15 or CIS level work. As a YouTuber I listened to said a while ago, it's working your wage, not your age. Now, why does this happen? There are a few good reasons why good employees might start quietly quitting. Number one, lack of recognition and appreciation. Now, let's be honest with one another. It's super easy to lose motivation when hard work, your hard work, my hard work, goes unnoticed, unappreciated, or worse, there's not going to be any promotion at the end of the dime. There's no going to be recognition at the end of the day. For those who are exempted employees for the federal government, GG workers instead of the regular GS, you know very damn well what I'm talking about. Hey, who doesn't like being in a senior manager position every freaking day, taking the hits, having all the responsibility, getting chewed out by the seniors or having to go to the presentations to the seniors, go to upteen millions of meetings. But when it comes time and time again for promotion or for your petition for promotion, and let's say after 8-10 years in that same grade and position, the promotion panel says to you, you don't have enough experience. Try again in a few years. Now, you're good enough for the job. You're good enough for the hits. You're just not good enough for the grade and pay. Make it make sense. Please, someone make it make sense. Now, number two, burnout, excessive workloads. We all know these long hours, Lack of work life balance can lead to physical and mental exhaustion, causing you to disengage, quietly quit. It's a coping mechanism. I think the worst is when you have a manager whose life is work. Micromanagers. I'm going to talk about that in a moment too. They don't have a cat or even a freaking low maintenance goldfish that you just feed once a week, and they expect you to do the same 10, 12, 13, 14 hours every day. And hey, weekends were made for working too. And swear to God, when managers are like this, if they ever have a sexual partner, they're screaming out not their sexual partner's name, but they're screaming out, oh, some form XYZ, you're late getting this in. What's your thing? What's your plan for? They're screaming work related stuff because that's the only thing they live for. Now, number three, let me go over this lack of growth opportunities. And I talked about it a little earlier. If you're stuck in your current role with no clear path for advancement or professional development, because sometimes we trade that shit off. Okay, we know we're not going to get promoted, but we're going to take the skills and the professional development. Now, if that's not going to happen, we may want to be able to quietly quit out of frustration. If there's nothing you're going to learn that's going to take you into retirement, hey, quietly quit. Number four, poor management, ineffective leadership, micromanagement, like I said, I'm going to look at in a moment, and a lack of trust can create a toxic work environment, causing you to withdraw your efforts. And I'm there. I honestly can say I have met my Waterloo, and I'm sure the hell not Wellington. Number five, unfair treatment, unfairness in compensation, promotions, or treatment compared to your peers can breed resentment and disengagement, which all can make you want to quietly quit. Now, quietly quitting advantages for soon to be retirees. What I just covered was some of the why people quietly quit. And it can happen no matter where a person is in their career. Now, for those of us nearing retirement, quietly quitting can be a strategic move for us who are the last of the baby boomers or the early Gen Xers. Think about it. If you put in over the years, be it 10, 20, 30, or more, and it's time to start counting down the days until you can finally kick back and lastly, it's time to start transitioning and not that type of transitioning, people. Sorry, not a binary, mixed binary. Non binary person to me is a person who doesn't understand zeros and ones. But it's the shift that's being always there, being the high performing individual meat for the grinder, the office drone, or just an ass in a seat that needs time to start preparing for a much deserved retirement. And I think so. Therefore, why not make it easier for your final year or two? I know I have earned it. I'm pretty sure most of you have earned the right to coast just a bit. Just do what's required to keep your job and possibly set boundaries with your supervisor and supervisors. However, don't go above and beyond like you're used to. That's what you need to look at. Conserve your energy for the things that you really care about outside of work. Now, for the caveat, I'm not saying you should completely check out from your work. That's not what quiet quitting is, at least from the strategic perspective. You still need to do your job, meet the baseline requirements in order to actually make it to retirement, because that's the goal. But you don't kill yourselves volunteering for all these extra projects or overtime or unpaid overtime unless you want to. So, in closing this thing about quietly quitting, for those of us nearing retirement, we need to think about embracing the strategicness of quietly quitting. We have earned it. I know it's hard as I fight every day, for I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I just can't touch it yet. I hate the feeling. Don't let your quietly quitting turn into a full blown disengagement, though. Don't let it blow up into a complete laziness, the F you for the workplace, and the whole nine yards. It's unethical, in my opinion, to do it, and it may get you fired at the end of the day, and you may not reach your goal for retirement. You have to find that sweet spot, that balance, where you still are doing your job, but you're not going the above and beyond like you used to. And don't blue falcon your coworkers. Some may even be work more than work friends. If you don't know what blue falcon is, it stands for buddy effort. Those in the military know quite well what that term is. After all, those golden years are just around the corner, and you want to have plenty of energy left to enjoy them. Okay, let's move to the second half of today's episode. Okay, hopefully I can get through this because what y'all don't see on the other side, this is probably my upteenth recording of this segment because I get kind of emotional on this. This segment strikes a personal chord with me. And as always, I say I'm not an HR professional, not a psychologist, psychiatrist, whichever you want to do, licensed therapist, anything of that sort. I'm just an old dude who's been there and seen it. This segment is about toxic managers and the workplaces that allow this type of behavior and how they can drive one's decision to retire. For many of us, the allure of retirement isn't just about relaxation and freedom. It's about escaping the toxicity in the workplace before it infiltrates our lives. And let's be honest, who the hell wants to bring this shit home? No matter how hard you try, it's gonna happen. And this type of stressor or these type of stressors can lead to a lifetime of little blue pills, weight gain, diabetes, mental health issues, heart disease, name the shit, it brings it. And for those of you like me who have ongoing health issues, it does not make it better. In fact, the shit makes it worse. For those who don't know, workplace bullying comes in many forms. And one of those many forms is micromanaging. It is such a toxin that it can make the prospect of retirement all the more appealing for even the most diehard employee. And who are we kidding? That diehard employee is now a formal diehard employee. Now, the suffocating nature of micromanaging. Micromanaging is the excessive control and monitoring of an employee or employees by manager or managers or their sycophants. Micromanaging also includes, but is not limited to, frequently requesting updates or progress reports, often the needless redoing or reworking of an employee's work. On many occasions, I have seen a manager who I believe to be very toxic have their direct reports, including me, rewrite something they directed the person or me to write. Time and time again, in my optics, I have also been the victim of this behavior, as I just noted. I noted it twice because I feel it twice. This behavior in my optics creates an environment of mistrust, undermines the autonomy, and erodes self-confidence. Sorry, not self control, self confidence. You ever heard of the phrase shell of a man? This shit digs down. And now I'm going to segue here. I'm taking this from a guy's point of view. I'm not a woman. I can't talk about it, but I will talk about it from a guy's point of view. Imagine someone constantly looking over your shoulder, questioning your every move, stripping you of the ability to make decisions, and you're supposed to be a line, middle, or senior manager. In my optic, that behavior just kills the desire to do a good job or even go to work. How many of you have sat in your car when you got to work and continue to ask yourself and tell yourself, just go home, fuck it, just go home. You don't have to go through this shit. It's pretty sucky when I have to sit through this mentality every day. It's pretty sucky when I know some of the people may not be directly under me in another office that I work with who go through that every day. Micromanagers breed stress, they breed anxiety, and they breed a sense of being devalued and disrespected. And most of them know this. It's an intimidation game that has a long lasting impacts on a person's mental health and to their career path. And the prospect of retirement, such in my case, is a welcome release. Now, there's a thing called the mobbing phenomenon. And this is where micromanagers don't work alone. They rarely work alone. They often enlist witting or unwitting participation of coworkers to this practice that's known as mobbing. This devious little shit tactic involves getting a person's colleagues, their coworkers, their peers, to join in the micro criticizing and undermining of the targeted individual. Think about it. We've all seen it, and it happens all the time. Team meetings, management only gatherings, larger group settings. A prime example that pops into my head is when during a team meeting, a toxic manager constantly targets one of the attendees for something. You sit there and you watch it, even for the most mundane thing, then throws out nonchalantly To the non-targeted participants, am I right? Am I right? They'll just turn around and look at them. Am I right? Am I right? I'm right about this, right? Wanting to get everybody to nod their fucking heads. While some coworkers who join in are either just assholes or budding assholes and toxic managers, or they could be both. However, at this stage in their careers or their life or whatever, they feel they must join into this mobbing so the micromanager can get their fix, unless they be targeted when it comes around to their turn during the meeting. This toxic dynamic shit tears teams apart. It leaves lasting scars, physical and mental. Further fuel the desire for older employees, the ones who have the institutional knowledge, to retire and leave such a hostile work environment up behind. Now, this is where I'm going to pick on federal agencies and the toxic workplaces. Let's address something a lot of us folks know and work with, and who are like me, have observed and commented on. We've noticed that the federal government lags behind the private sector in addressing toxic workplaces and managers. The federal government's bureaucratic structures, hierarchies, and a culture of following the rules often hinder taking action against toxic behavior. Just think, growing up in the federal government, you can even be in the military, but the federal government. And again, this is beyond the suck it up buttercup shit. This is true toxic stuff I'm talking about. When you hear back in my day, I went through this, so you need to do this. I just love the back in my day. Now, there are some, we all have to take our licks and we have to do stuff, but toxic behavior isn't a learning thing, other than learning the part that's the behavior when you become a manager and a leader you don't want to do. Senior leadership wonders why so many employees leave early in their careers. Now, friend to friend, how many of you heard or seen or personally experienced where a promotion is used to get a fucking toxic manager out of a department or unit? They promote them up and out. Now, management thinks they're doing a good thing, but all they're doing is rewarding bad behavior. And worse, moving that bad manager to another position to start their toxic ways again. So more people will feel this wrath. And don't get me started on employee satisfaction surveys, which I'd like to cover in another episode. For those working in these agencies, the prospect of retirement becomes even more appealing, especially if that person is eligible or near eligible to seek escape from this workplace. A place that is, in the employee's optics, have failed in prioritizing creating a healthy, respectful, and supported workplace. And again, I'm talking about shit that goes beyond suck it up buttercup. One thing I am going to say about the employee survey, and sorry I have to say it, I've talked to several of the data scientists who handle this stuff. They've already told me they throw out the lowest scores. Because in management and their mentalities, when they're doing this stuff, looking at it for the survey results, is those people are already leaving no matter what. So they're disgruntled. So even if they're telling the truth, they don't want to look at it that way. Oh, they're disgruntled, so we're going to throw those results out. That's why you look at an office and you're like going, how the fuck can it score in the 50s, 60s when you know no one's happy? And you know the people who filled the survey ain't fucking happy. So it's kind of weird. But the reason why is they throw the lowest scores out. They do it all the time. Now, I'd like to close this little discussing in there. For those of us nearing retirement, be you a boomer or early Gen Xer, and you find yourself in a toxic workplace surrounded by micromanaging and hostility, and there isn't readily available an alternative, know that retirement is that potential escape. It's a chance to reclaim your autonomy, your self-worth, and your peace of mind. In my case, my retirement offers a light at the end of the tunnel, an opportunity to leave a heavy, heavy thing of negativity behind and embrace a new chapter in my wife's and I's lives. That's it for today. Curious, concerned, or just want to chat? I'm all ears. Reach out at dyingtoretirepodcast@gmail.com. And if you find yourself nodding along or you just enjoy the ride, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Hasta luego.